Hi guys, welcome back to another amazing video. Today we'll be continuing our journey following the line from Lowton St Marys through to St Helens Central. Yes, you've guessed it, we're on the Great Central route again. So, this opened to passengers in 1900 and it closed to passengers in 1952. Except that is, for race days. At Haydock Park, this was kept running till 1975. The main purpose of this line was freight. And in fact, there was a bonus in 1969 when the Shell terminus opened at Haydock, and that kept service going till 1983. In fact, there was also a scrapyard nearby that lasted till 1989. So come on, let's get the journey going. You go for it, Nick.
We're on another track today. We're going to follow the old Great Central line where it branched off from Glazebrook and worked its way out to St Helens Central. Now, I've walked this line about 15-20 years ago, so I need to dig my old pictures out and see how much it's changed. Even in them days, there was an industrial estate built across the line at Haydock, and it was quite hard to follow. But there's a few surprises along the way, especially when we get towards St Helens. Now, we started off from Lowton, and behind me is where the branch was for Wigan Central going to the right and St Helens Central going to the left. So that was the junction for both Great Central lines. And behind me was the site of the old station. It's now under an industrial estate, unfortunately. But you can see the track alignment where that building is now. That used to carry on down to Glazebrook.
A few gremlins in the camcorder, I'm afraid. So down to pictures. As you can see, to start the trick, it was very, very hopeful. We could see a nice pathway. Okay, the wood was a bit rough, but we could get through. Unfortunately, then we hit this barrier where the waterworks were. That wasn't good. A bit further along, we did find this fantastic bridge. As you can see, a first railway clue. And it was brilliant. So from here onwards, as you can see, the dog walkers have allowed us through. And it's literally on the line leading up to the station. That's where she was. And there she is looking back. So, if you follow the tree line in the distance, you can see where the railways went. Where all those cranes are is the location of Goulburn North Station and its goods yard. So immediately after there, we then had a bridge that went over the West Coast Main Line. They never joined, remember.
Well, we've reached the part of just across the road from Goulburn North now. This is quite an interesting piece here. I walked this about 10-20 years ago. And I don't know, it looks like it's out of use now. The lines seem to have just been left down. I can't tell though. But that line went off to the rolling mill. It was closed when I walked it last. It was a few years ago. And this line probably still does it. It heads onto the West Coast Main Line. But this section of track's interesting because this was shared Great Central. So Great Central trains come down here on the way to St Helens, you see. So I'm surprised this is still here. We thought it would have been built up. And that's how we don't know whether it's in use.
Now let's just clarify that. So the line you're looking at on the right was a spur that was added in 1968. This was a connection directly onto the West Coast Main Line. This created easier access to a new terminal that was being built at Haydock for the Shell refinery. And when this spur opened, the Lowton line was closed. And here's the line looking westward towards St Helens.
Right, we're down on the Great Central track bed, but it's I don't know if it's still used for shunting from wherever that other siding used to go to. I suspect it might be, but these lines don't look like they've been used for a long time. But I'm not trespassing, I'm on a crossing going across the line. So you can see looking up it would have been twin track at one time, double track going that way to Goulburn North and this way to St Helens Central. So I mean at one time there's probably Robinsons and all sorts of LNWR steam locals working down here. So we're going to continue that way. So we can't walk down the track bed, so we need to get round it. And I have done it before and I can't remember which way I went, so we're going to have to check our overlay map. There's been new houses built and all sorts. I'm really surprised this is still here though. I thought this would have gone a long time ago. So we're going to check our maps now and try to get beyond the fences on the original track bed.
Well, I've walked down the line now about 300 yards and we've come up to this buffer stop. So effectively making this line into one hell of a head shunt. Right, let's get back to Nick.
Well, we've climbed on top of the bridge now, so I'm on the Great Central track bed. The farthest Great Central west really, which is going to St Helens Central. So this goes down quite a steep incline now, makes its way down to Haydock, to the horse racing course, where they used to have a railway station inside the grounds of the race course. So we're going to walk down, or try to walk down this section. When I did it 20 years ago, it doesn't look much different here now. You can still walk it, so it doesn't look like there's a lot of development at this part. Yeah, there used to be, on this section what we're in now, I mean the ballast's still down from Great Central days, but there was quite a large sidings on this side, which we're not sure were some sort of exchange sidings, but there was an industrial line which I remember used to cross under the Great Central. So whether it was for quarries, because this area is full of quarries, a lot of extraction, coal mine working and all sorts down here.
Fits in for that.
Yeah, we found what fits. We'll have to check it when we get back into old archives. This looks like it's been a signal box at one time, which is at the bottom of the incline, so it might have been controlling that sidings up at the top. So there's definitely been some structure stood on here. The only thing I can think of is it was a signal box.
Looks like we've found a line that spurs off from the right hand side onto a middle line. So Nick, you can see him just about in the distance there, he's still on the Great Central line. Let's go and catch him up.
Right, we've got to this bridge. When I passed it 20 odd years ago, I walked over it, but they've fenced it off now. It's obviously pretty dangerous. And the line continues beyond this. I'm not sure what used to go under this. Well, we've walked down the main section now from that last overbridge, and it's been quite a pleasant walk actually through the trees. And there's still sleepers and signal posts in place, so I'm not sure when this section of the line closed. I always presumed it was before beaching, but the ballast is still here and everything, so it's a bit of a strange one. It's a nice walk down there, and then we've got back to here to the what was a footbridge going over with steps on. The abutments are still up on both sides, so I suppose it's not doing any harm, so they've just left it here. Well, we've had to come off track a bit at this point. We followed the alignment down at the side of the fencings where it went into Haydock Park racing course. It had its own railway station actually in the race course. When I walked it 20 years ago, you could carry on straight to the front of the race course, but they blocked it off with this damn field now, so we've got to walk all the way around.
Here we are just past Haydock Park. Coming up to the bridge right at the front of the race ground. This is where it went underneath. As you can see, no longer a railroad, more like a river. In fact, you get more ducks. The only mallard you'd see round here would be the one that to be flying over, not going on the tracks.
We've got back on the track bed, and this is actually Ashton in Makerfield. Now, this estate, it's been here about 20 odd years because I remember it from last time I was here. It's actually on the site of Ashton in Makerfield railway station. So this is as good as it gets now. So you won't really see anything of the track bed now until you get to the tunnel portals, what go under the M6. And we're making our way in that direction so you can get underneath the M6.
So from that station, it then led on to a school which is built right up to this abutment. This is the abutment that goes under the M6 motorway. So this is where the railways used to go underneath the M6. Looks like there were two sets of lines. Some oldie world kind of stones here. It looks like it expanded out to the left. Is this some kind of a junction? Check it out. So this, the other side, I think this may have been Great Central, you know, and the other one was like a spur that went somewhere else. I'll have a look at the maps. So the left spur, it was a link to the LNWR metal, and it looped round connecting with all the local pits, and it eventually crossed over the Great Central line close to Haydock station. Watch this space.
Well, we've got to the other side of the M6 motorway now, and this is pretty much how I remember it from 20 years ago. Although it was a wetter day when I did the walk. The tunnel portholes are still visible going under the M6. There was a spur going off to an old pit in that direction, and this was the main line to carry on to St Helens Central. It's been blasted out of, looks like granitic rocks, so the old railway builders. They must have been putting explosives in here and doing whatever they did. And this embankment I'm sat on now, I don't think this was here. I think the cutting just carried on. This has been done when they built the industrial estate behind me.
In fact, this industrial estate was the original location of Haydock Shell oil depot. This opened in 1969 and it provided freight until 1983.
Okay, we had to walk right parallel with the old track bed, the track alignment, and then round some obstacles to get us through the industrial estate. So we've picked up the track bed again on a Millfield lane, and this is it essentially. It's this bit. Now I don't know if it crossed the road here, if it went under a tunnel or whether it was a level crossing, I'm not sure. But we're going to follow it now because part of the old track bed over there, it's actually been made into a road now, and the old railway bridge was still intact last time I walked. So we're going to walk down that way now on the old alignment. And we're now at Haydock now, and this roadway was the Great Central track bed. It's turned into a roadway now. You can see the original railway bridge. It goes under the East Lancs, the 580. And we're in a perfect location here now. I can show you where the alignment is for the Great Central. This is St George's Park in Haydock. Now we've walked down this, which was part of the original track bed. So we've followed it in a straight line from that road, what had been turned into the railway. And we're going to carry on here now. There's a sunken tunnel. You can just see the abutment in the distance. So that's a sunken tunnel, what used to go under a section of it. And from memory, when we get to the end of this path, we should be on the site of Haydock Station. Well, this is the abutment. The railway would have been below us, because I suspect this was some sort of tunnel entrance. But we don't know how far the tunnel's gone through until we do the research on it. But we're going to follow it through this parkway now, and the next stop should be the site of Haydock railway station. Okay, I'm sat on the abutment bridge now, what used to be part of the Great Central line, and we found this interesting piece here. Now this was part of the steel bridge what went over the railway line, and this section what I'm stood on now would have been the old quarry line, which took you to Haydock quarries. So I'm quite surprised this is still intact really. So it would have been a Great Central going under the quarry line. So this is the other end of what would have been the tunnel now. You can see it's still got the steel girder section in the middle. So this wall's a bit longer than the one on the other side. But it's still here, it's just been buried, so Going to head this way now, down towards what used to be Haydock railway station. Right, so I'm stood more or less on the site of what used to be Haydock railway station, Great Central Railway Station. It's all houses now. I thought it was the doctor's surgery where it was, but apparently this is the area. We've just checked the overlay map. So we're going to try to pick up the track bed from here, if we can find anything. We've done a good mile and a half from Haydock now. It's all been housing estates. They've built on the track bed. It's very hard to follow, but we've come over Sankey. I think it's Sankey Moss, and we've got down on this part now. So this was the alignment again. So we've picked the railway up again. It crosses over the canal over in that direction, and we're now heading in this direction towards St Helens. So follow me. Well, we got to another landmark. We suspect there might have been a viaduct over this section, or a bridge of some types. And there's all houses built down the track bed. There's the Lidl's on one side, so it looks like the alignment goes straight through the side of Lidl's. So we'll just see what we can find.
So we slowly approach our way into St Helens. Wow. Where the Great Central came. And that's where it went onto the viaduct to take the final stretch into St Helens Central. Let's see if we can find any clues at that viaduct. Unfortunately, the viaduct is behind this wall, which is annoying. Let's keep looking.
Well, we finally made it to the St Helens Canal. This is where the Great Central line actually crossed the canal. Both abutments are still intact. They're quite a nice design actually. And that's where the railway line would have gone into the central station. So it's been a bit of a struggle getting there, but we're going to cross the canal now and just follow the rest of it into where the old station was. Right, we've walked as far as as St Helens now. Behind me is a viaduct what takes over, or the bridge what takes the West Coast Main Line over the brook here. And just in that direction, a few hundred yards, is where the Great Central would have crossed the West Coast Main Lines.
Bit of a slog, but we found it. Here's the viaduct going over the West Coast Main Line. And we got some turrets. Bring it on.
Okay, we've got back on the track bed. I'm feeling this walk. I've not done anything like this for a while. That's where the Great Central came in. That was a curve on the line, but curved round and went into the town centre then. To St Helens Central. But there was another line what curved round down here to a quarry, a little colliery. And I think that's the embankment what it used to take it down to. It was called
Cowley.
Cowley Hill Quarry, that's it.
This site was later redeveloped into the famous Pilkington Glass Works. It was a massive place and had loads of sidings.
Right, we've got to the final run into what used to be Great Central Station at St Helens. I'm not sure what this building was though. It looks a bit like it might have been a railway. It looks slightly lower than the main line, but I'm not sure really. But if you spin round this way, you can see probably the last surviving Great Central engine shed. That's it, that building. It's used for something else now, of course. But that's a Great Central engine shed at St Helens Central. Okay, we've now reached what's probably the final abutment now. The bridge been taken out of here, steel girder bridge. So this is the final run with the engine shed on top of the bridge before we get into Central Station. Right, this is really what used to be, would have been the engine shed yard now. And this is the final run down to where the station, St Helens Central would have been. It's a car park now and the courthouse is at the back of it, so we're just walking this final section. We've just walked past the engine shed there, and it went as far as you can see to the courthouse there. That was the start of the platform, so that's where you'd catch your trains from. And from here you'd run all the way down to Lowton and Glazebrook under the main system. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Join us again for another exciting adventure. Bye for now.